Good morning. Thank you for attending on the fourth day of the conference. I know that some of your colleagues may have left, but this is what sets you apart. You are willing to go the extra mile. It's the horse's nose that wins the races. So I hope to entertain you this morning, inform and educate, maybe fill in some areas that you're not sure about, open to questions, and I even seek to inspire and maybe even disrupt some of the preconceived notions or ideas that you may have about telepresence, augmented reality, virtual reality, and the concept of collaboration in general. So let's get started.
Okay to go. Okay to go. Okay to go.
Notice that she's wearing
Initiate drop sequence. Okay to go.
This is from 1992. I wonder if Palmer Luckey, who later sold his company to Facebook for $2 billion, saw this movie. But this is basically an Oculus Rift being shown 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago.
Damn it, Carol, I never unplug a program when I'm engaged. Just ruin the whole effect.
And from Kingsman.
Oh. Gentlemen, I'm thankful to say it's been 17 years since we last had occasion.
A beautiful example of light frame augmented reality. And I'm glad to present using the Prezi Next AR, in which I am inside the presentation. This is a beta version, thanks to Prezi and their founders for allowing me to demo this for you. The concept of being able to work remotely started with the Postal Service, sending mail. And as you can see in this chart the evolution from mail, fax. Remember when fax was a huge development? Email, telephones, obviously, and we go all the way to what is face-to-face communication, belly to belly, when things really get done, because text, an email message might convey some information, but it lacks a lot of information coming from the tone and from the body language, which conveys, as we know, the majority of the message. And here I am in the telepresence window of an example of what it means to work remotely, and for you to be there, or for those people to see what you're doing. And I'll show you some examples of this later. And augmented reality, where I can interact as if I'm in a world that is augmented with things that don't exist. Some people would call it hallucinations, but it is. There are other names for this. Microsoft likes to call it mixed reality or holographics, but we'll show you examples of that. The nomenclature really all boils down to the same thing: that you're augmenting reality beyond what's there. And of course, the virtual reality, which we saw in the movie segment before, and which conveys a complete imaginary scene. And this is obviously HTC, Vive, Sony has goggles as well, and we'll see some more examples. But those are the three main categories. I like to call, those are the three main pillars of working at a distance or working in virtual worlds. And to take a step back, why are they here? What are we trying to solve? Well, what we'd like to do is solve the problem of the lack or the loss of tribal knowledge people that are retiring and no longer providing their knowledge and their expertise to our companies. And our companies are getting far-flung all over the world so that it's harder to communicate or it's very expensive to send people overseas to solve simple problems that could be solved if we had an immersive environment where they could really see what the people that are in front of the problem are seeing. And of course, the maintenance of complex industrial systems or airplanes or military aircraft, these systems are changing rapidly. They're much more complex than before, and we need to find better ways of training people to fix them. So this economic justification for the technology is really illustrated in a seminal project, a research project that Boeing did with a university, in which they simulated making wings out of 2x4s and bolts, but they had 3 methods to do it. One was a typical manual, just paper, and you had to follow the instructions. The second was a computer that you walked over to and saw the instructions, the same instructions that were printed but were on a screen like a PDF. And the third was a makeshift augmented reality system. And what was amazing is the decrease, as you can see here, in the number of errors using the 3 different systems for people that had never done this before. So this doesn't seem like a big task, but if you make the metaphor that Boeing is assembling satellites, one mistake that is avoided can result in millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars of savings. And thanks to Augmented Reality Enterprise Alliance, of which I'm a member, I'd like to show you sort of a summary of what we've discussed. The reduction in errors, the reduction in training requirements, reduction in job time. This would be the decrease in recall instructions, and the transfer of tribal knowledge, all resulting in decreased cost and increased first-time quality. Again, the first-time quality is a big issue, and that is something that is hard to measure. If you make a mistake, unless you have an ISO system and you track these very carefully, those things normally don't get reported, and they just add to cost. And again, from our friends at Augmented Reality Enterprise Alliance, they did a survey of what makes for a good telepresence or a good augmented reality system. In general, they come to this list of suggestions. There has to be the lowest possible latency, because the lag between what you're seeing and what you're doing can cause nausea in some people. So the processor power has to be up there so that you don't have that talking to the moon effect where you have a delay in the response. Again, the audio is a very big part of this. As we know, emotions conveyed in movies normally have to do more with the music than with the images. So John Williams knows this very well in the movie Jaws, where you are more scared of the sound than anything that's happening on the screen. But again, in a failure mode, the audio should be the last thing to go. Although high resolution is necessary when you're dealing with very detailed circuit boards where you need the detail of what to do. And Steve Jobs is not here to teach us how to do it intuitively and easy, but he would probably be rolling in his grave if he saw some of the implementations that are being done of these devices. But again, the important thing is that they should be second nature and very intuitive to use and comfortable to wear. Because if you're going to be using these for several hours, what might be just a slight discomfort after a few minutes is torture after hours. And Also, we have to be aware that many of these devices may not be usable in factory settings where, because they restrict the peripheral vision, you might get hit by a beam or get snagged with some equipment you don't see. So there are issues that have to be addressed in terms of industrial safety, and then there's some other devices which may not be allowed because of ATEX or explosive environment restrictions. That is, an environment that could set off fire because of a spark from the equipment. And the duty cycle has to do with how many hours that the device can work without having to be recharged. It's not really feasible to have a bunch of batteries recharged, ready to swap out. And the other issue is, of course, that anything that you have to take in or put in or take out of these devices creates what they call FOD, or foreign object debris hazards, which are, of course, important in industrial settings, but even more important in aerospace, where something that falls into a jet engine may require $1 million overhaul or more. And there's a trick question here. There's something missing, and that is, okay, for the sake of time, I'll just jump in. It's security. If you have a device that is recording in high resolution as you're walking around the factory, the IT people are going to freak. And rightly so. That their job is to protect the environment that the people work in. So these devices normally don't have the security that we now have for cell phones. There's a bunch of companies that provide security for the management of cell phones. But I would suggest, for example, that in order to instill the safety concerns, the security concerns in the workers that are using these devices, that you might create sandbox tests where certain areas are off limits, so that you instill the concept of, hey, you're walking around with a broadcast device on your head. This may not be the best thing for people to see. Competitors, foreign governments, etc. I'd like to take you now on a brief tour of some of these devices which I've tested, suffered, and in some cases actually been a part of the development. We start with Google Glass. You see here, and the Google Glass is more of an assisted reality device. It's not entirely an augmented reality because, yes, you see a little square with instructions or a screen in front of you, but it's not really creating a sense that you're augmented reality. It's kind of like having a signpost in front of you, which is nice if you're following instructions. And the other device which is similar is RealWear. There's also devices like this from Vuzix and so forth. Now I'd like to show you a truly state-of-the-art demo of virtual reality on the HTC Vive by a partner of ours, Middle VR from Paris, France. The problem with virtual reality when you're sitting is that it creates nausea because the brain thinks that you're moving, but your inner ear knows that you're not. In this case, as the person is actually moving, that effect is practically eliminated. But notice the precision with which they are operating that device, and it's affecting the numbers on the gauge. The beauty of that demonstration is that is being used today to certify operators that then go out to that same environment and have already experienced it virtually. And they actually get their certification in a completely risk-free environment. Imagine you can't really test, you can't really practice on opening and closing gas valves, but doing it virtually is the same concept as using flight simulators, which have been around for decades. And of course, we now go into augmented reality, which many people think is sort of the main application that we're all here to see. This is augmented reality. This operator is working with this piece of hardware, and it's showing him what the shaft that needs to be inserted. It seems like a trivial example, but there's a lot of technology in terms of tracking the device and so forth that needs to happen. Of course, the downside of this is that the operator, once they've done the operation a few times, doesn't need this kind of guidance, and so they would probably end up taking off their augmented reality
Next step,
glasses.
he's going to insert the slotted screwdriver blade into the impeller. Now, there's 20 different ways you can remove that impeller. The best way is exactly how we're showing it. So he's able to insert that screwdriver, tap it with a hammer, and it's going to spin it right off the end.
You see it.
Once again, he sees it and does it.
Now, imagine trying to explain that in a text manual. There's no way. So this is a very good application of augmented reality in a training environment.
She's going to help us with the HoloLens version of this now. So what I'd like you to do is, put on the HoloLens, and she's going to look at that same catalog page and see it from the HoloLens view. So go ahead.
This is a wonderful example of using...
So she sees the same model. If you'll notice, even the change note is there. But the cool thing is, because she's using HoloLens, she's not tethered then to this piece of paper or the catalog. She can bring this catalog to life. And so why don't you go ahead and bring this, take the loader and go ahead and put it on the stage for us.
Great. Happy to trigger that animation. And what's unique about this mixed reality experience is that prospective Caterpillar customers can view the Caterpillar at true size and scale. Caterpillar, change configuration.
Oh, I like that. So when they talk about the magic of software, I think that's all right there. So hardware, software, the cloud, bringing it all together, real-world scenario.
Now, the concept of
more and more today, people are working remotely. They're not all located in the same physical building. Imagine being able to change the people you're meeting with, the place where you're meeting, or the content that you're collaborating around, all in a matter of seconds.
I don't work
It really unlocks new possibilities for the way that information worker can be productive. Inherently saying you want a PC on every desk implies that people have desks. But we know that there's a huge part of the workforce that actually don't have desks. In fact, we think 80% of the workforce are what we call first-line workers, and we think they number over 2 billion worldwide.
When computers have the ability to understand the real world, a bunch of really powerful things can happen.
We've been looking at the critical workflows for the first-line worker, and we are committed to bringing products to market to help them do their jobs more effectively. One of the first critical workflows that we uncovered was for the field service worker who often needs to call in for some expert help. And with mixed reality, we can bring the expert to them, and the expert can see what they're seeing and can annotate into their space and help them solve the problem and verify that's been done correctly. Another critical workflow that we've uncovered is around training employees on new products, processes, equipment. Companies are spending a lot of time and money on this today, and these things change often, and they're so critical to their operations. Another area of opportunity is around space planning. Companies need help designing and planning out their spaces efficiently. Mixed reality enables them to view their designs with digital objects, and they can see them at scale, and they can walk through them and iterate before they have to make the costly decisions.
And I think all those things come together to sort of shape what this modern workplace looks like as we go forward. Digital transformation is really impacting every industry, every company today. And the companies that we see that are most successful at digital transformation are those that empower their employees and rethink the employee experience all the way from the boardroom to the information worker and then onto the first line worker.
Thank you Microsoft for that amazing demo. And I think that we should consider that Microsoft is doing the same thing that IBM did with the IBM PC. There were personal computers around, but until IBM came out with theirs, it didn't become, let's say, appropriate for big companies to start looking at them. But once IBM did it, as they used to say, nobody got fired for buying IBM. I guess that nowadays, if you buy a HoloLens, they'll say the same. ODG is a company that was founded by one of the gentlemen that worked in the military, creating the head-up displays, and very impressive technology, very wide-angle views, and they have a device that is certified for use in explosive environments, so they're getting some traction in oil and gas and environments that are a little bit more hazardous or just require that kind of certification. And that picture doesn't correspond, but I'll show you now. This is a Telepresence Wi-Fi camera that goes on somebody's helmet and allows the worker to collaborate with the expert that might be remote. And this is also for explosive environments. So it's a self-contained unit, and it can be used to communicate using various video conferencing systems. This is our own device. This is a product that we distribute, similar to the previous one. It's a Telepresence camera that is outfitted to a Motorola G4 Android 7 phone, and allows the operator, in this case the technician, as you can see, to work hands-free, and the screen on his arm can also allow the remote expert to annotate or to superimpose their hands right over the image that the technician is seeing. So I'll show you now what I think is a proposed roadmap. Of course, you all have your own corporate cultures, but this is sort of a suggestion that you might consider. The first thing is to ask the people that are in front of the problems. They've been hearing about these things, they see these videos, they see the ads, so they're chomping at the bits to try these things out. But you need to find out where the pain points are, what are the things, where are the areas where the errors are being made, where can we actually contribute to the success of the company. Mostly the people that are in front of the problems will tell you. You have to get their buy-in. This is critical to get their support and to avoid resistance in some heavily unionized environments. The union might have to be involved as well. But again, I think that if we emphasize the collaborative aspects of the telepresence or the remote assistance or remote mentoring as it's called, we can overcome some of that unionized resistance. Again, starting small and selling the vision step by step. This works better bottom up than top down. And we will have problems, we will have errors, we will have devices that are good doorstops, and that's okay. The idea is to fail fast and fail often. In the process, to create KPIs that will give us a valid, objective measure so that we can compare the different devices and get a measure of their ROI so that we can justify their purchase. And, of course, we have to celebrate. If we're misery in these implementation phases needs to be rewarded with some corporate encouragement. And here we have a suggestion from the also from the Augmented Reality Enterprise Alliance of what would be called a maturity model different levels of going from standalone systems to connected applications, connected with the back office information, and then completely smart systems that really are just over the horizon, but will soon be coming. And so I'd like to invite you to broaden your mind to some of the things that I'd like to show you, and how these or variations of these may be applied in your own businesses. I show here Delta has done an extremely complicated and very successful work using RFID tags, which are pretty inexpensive, and they've put them on the oxygen generators and the life vests of their planes. People have this habit of taking them as souvenirs. I don't know why, but a plane that doesn't have the life vests and is subject to an inspection could actually be grounded. So it's a serious issue that they now really solve by walking down the aisle with what looks like a supermarket scanner, and it immediately queries all of the seats and tells you where there may be where there are things missing. You see that the figures are nothing to laugh at. That's an image of one of the RFID antennas. There are passive and active. The passive are essentially printed, and the actives have some kind of battery device, which are still not completely certified for use on airplanes. This is a wonderful demonstration of what drones can do.
The drone uses laser technology to position itself relatively to the aircraft. We load the 3D model of the aircraft on the drone, and using the laser scanners, the drone can autonomously navigate around the aircraft.
It can be extended to other types of inspection, such as lightning strikes.
Those kinds of inspections can save hundreds of hours and detect problems that might otherwise go unnoticed. This whole section that follows is talking about big data predictive maintenance, where General Electric and other companies as well, Rolls-Royce and CFM, are actually listening to their engines in real-time temperature, pressure, vibrations from many points, and they save this in big data while in flight. By storing this information, the engine can compare itself to other engines of the same type, so any outlying values, even if it hasn't been programmed, can immediately detect you of possible problems. So the engine is inspected upon landing, or shut down in flight, of course. Those who do will obviously have an advantage over those who don't. And this next section of paperless maintenance, this has been something that airlines have wanted to do, but this is kind of a complex problem because the leasing companies that own the aircraft still prefer the boxes of greasy job cards, and that is because still there isn't a way to make sure that the maintenance records the digital records are correct. But nowadays with blockchain, we can make sure that they are unaltered and they survive any hacking. What I'm going to show you is also a video of Kisters, one of the companies that we collaborate with in Germany. And I've heard on the floor discussion of making digital models in Unity, and that's fine if the model is static, but what we propose is to literally save every single object that comprises the aircraft in a big data database. Each object is secured with blockchain, and it is rendered on the fly from that big data database. And that's what Crysters can do, even on cell phone devices. These are images taken. This is real time. How they can display million object devices, as you can see, with high resolution. And the same information regarding the object can be used then in augmented reality or virtual reality training, so that the same data is repurposed for many, many different activities. And sensitive parts are protected with blockchain by different levels of access, so that we prevent the loss of IP information, not IP in terms of technical IT stuff, but rather intellectual property, so that, for example, a fan blade, the geometry of the fan blade can be grayed out so that the mechanic knows that it needs to replace it, but it can't be used to create an additive. It can't be created from that plan. And this all has to do with collaboration among various companies. And here we see Nature's again ahead of us. The ants use their body to get across this obstacle. Nobody's taught them this. These are fish that don't swim in synchronized way, but they do it to protect themselves from predators by having thousands of eyes looking at the same time. And birds do it too. They swarm this way so that they can catch insects faster, better, and also because they prevent the hawks from diving into the mass of birds, because they would break their wings, literally, if they fell into that mass of birds. I'd like to present Talent Swarm.
Presenting Talent Swarm. Talent Swarm is a project lifecycle management, PLM, platform that imports 3D information from existing or future projects, such as this refinery. All of the equipment information has been provided by the supplier and can be drilled down on so that it can be maintained during the entire life cycle of the project. Not only is the equipment tracked, but the operators are also geolocated using their phones so that the remote supervisors can access and communicate with them. In this case, what we're simulating is a problem with this machine that appears in red. And we can communicate with the qualified operator using a text messaging system, assuming that we have low bandwidth. Now the supervisor can see a simulation of that person walking towards the problem. Once the person is in front of the machine with the issue, we can open a telepresence window using which you see in the upper right hand corner, and the operator that is local is communicated with a remote expert so that they can decide together what equipment or what parts should be ordered, and the problem is solved. Talent Swarm, a collaborative work environment.
What we're talking about is a whole new way of thinking about a refinery, an airplane, or a building. Now I'd like to show you what is probably going to come soon is robot co-pilots. This is a real project in which a robot can actually fly legacy aircraft. And then this is another example of what would be considered the remote control of robotics. many people think of, okay, Terminator, it has its own mind, it does its own thing. But probably for quite a while, what we'll have is, and this has been foretold in a lot of games now, Mech Warrior, for example, that is to control a robot by a human remotely. So that person now uses the mechanical skin to do something that augments the human capacity. Okay, it looks like a toy, but the concept is much more important. The telemovement that you're seeing here. Again, this is just a palette of different things that I've collected to show you how the different technologies of telepresence, augmented reality, virtual reality are being used by different companies and blend and mix and serve as you may see fit. Now, one of the biggest challenges facing us is talent. How do we find qualified workers? Well, if we are creating virtual environments that basically look like video games, what we've been doing over the last few years is training hundreds of thousands and millions. These are our future employees right there. Okay, so they're good at shooting, but they will be good at other things once we've given them the tools. There are
I was wondering if you would like to have sex.
Okay, what does this have to do with it? There are dystopic views of what all this technology might do. Are we going to... This is the 1993.
Just relax. We'll begin in a few seconds.
Begin what?
Sex, of course. What's wrong? You broke contact.
Contact? I didn't even touch you yet.
I thought you wanted to make love.
Is that what you call this?
First sex has been proven to produce higher orders of alpha waves during digitized transference of sexual energies.
All right, Alfie, what do you say we just do it the old-fashioned way?
Ugh, disgusting. You mean... transfer?
I mean, boning, the wild mambo, the hunka-chunka.
That is no longer done. The exchange of bodily fluids, do you know what that leads to?
Yeah, I do. Kids, smoking, a desire to raid the fridge.
The rampant exchange of bodily fluids is one of the major reasons for the downfall of society. Not even mouth transfer is condoned.
Kissing's not allowed?
Oh.
Kissing.
What are you doing?
Well, I wanted to show this example as what a dystopic view, instead of utopic or utopia, dystopia, what some of these technologies might lead us to. But this has happened throughout the ages. It happened with cars. It happened with electricity. It's happened with nuclear power. If there is something that we as humans need to learn, is to control our destructive urges and to foster those of collaboration, which take more courage than competition. And I think that this conference, given its slogan of collaboration, is very much in line with this concept. Thank you very much. Please, you have my email. I'm here to answer any questions. We will look forward to speaking with you, discussing ideas you might have, and moving the collaborative world further.